Hello, Guardians, and welcome to the second episode of the Mytho Class Podcast. I am joined by John, as per usual. How have you been?
I have been enjoying the winter weather that was and still is Michigan.
Yeah.
I remember up at my family stayed at this rental property that our family is kind of overseeing for the moment. And the reason why I bring this up is because it's just off the water and it's close to a marina. And so people are kind of doing like ice fishing right now up there. And I remember when we first got into Michigan, I was like, okay, here we go. Like, just like Ohio, they're probably not going to have a white Christmas. And I just see, like, think of the Woody and Buzz, like, Toy Story meme that's just like something everywhere. And it was basically just fill in that with snow everywhere. And it was great.
Yeah.
Loved it. We ended up having like 6 inches up at the property that we were staying at, so it was wonderful. We got to wake up to snow almost every day. Not like accumulating snow, but just in the front yard, snow, in the backyard, snow, everywhere, snow. It was great. But yeah, for Christmas, I was blessed with some very thoughtful gifts. One that made me laugh, and a few more that were enjoyable as well. And then got to try some craft beer for those who are of age. It's a wonderful part of the human experience to explore. And now I get to prep for the new year and also my birthday. So it's a nice way for every year to like end one year with Christmas, have the New Year's celebration, and then get my birthday. And then I just kind of coast until Christmas comes around again.
Coasting the whole year. It's a very wonderful part of the year, just this whole December, January time where you get all the festivities, including your birthday, and then
right. Yeah. So how about your last week?
It's been pretty good. Been spending a lot of time with family, friends. I spent some time in Columbus around the Christmas time with my girlfriend's family. We spent Christmas there, or Christmas Eve there, and then on Christmas Day, I spent a little bit opening presents at my girlfriend's place, and then that same day we left and drove up to Michigan to spend time with my family. So I got to spend Christmas with two different families, my girlfriend's family and my own family, and we did a lot of things. It's a pretty great day. It's been a while since I've seen my family too. Some of my cousins I don't see very often, my uncle, my grandparents, all that stuff. So it was a pretty good Christmas. And in terms of gifts, I got a lot of pretty awesome stuff. I got some clothing, as per usual, some like Destiny related stuff. I got quite a few Destiny related things, thanks to my girlfriend. And on that note, I got 2 hunter related items. Both are ironic because I main a warlock. So it's just like she's trying to tell me something. I should main a hunter is what she's saying, I'm thinking. But no, it was greatly appreciated. It was pretty awesome to see. I love all my characters equally. I just play some of them not as much as the others.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like a very nice holiday. The one thing, though, that I do want to mention is that, or I would like to ask you about just briefly before we kind of get into things here, is for the first time, I ended up traveling on Christmas Day to go see family.
Yeah.
And what I found peculiar about what you ended up stating was that you also traveled on Christmas Day, and you also went to Michigan.
Yes, I did. It was I don't particularly enjoy the drive up there, mainly because I-75, which is the main highway that connects like a lot of the traffic from Ohio to Michigan,
right,
is kind of annoying. I'm not a fan of I-75, but I mean, No, the drive was pretty good. Michigan itself was a lot snowier than Ohio. I think as you said, they got like 6 or so inches of snow, which was a lot more than Ohio got, which was pretty nice because I'm pretty sure on Christmas Day or the day before Christmas Day, it was raining. It was relatively warm, like very warm as according to standards. So it was kind of disappointing, but Michigan had all the snow, and it was great to see.
Michigan had all the snow, and then I got a text from my girlfriend when she was in Columbus, and she was saying that the temperatures were approaching 70
Yeah.
on the day after Christmas. And then that took me back to a few years before where I remember my dad and I, as kind of like, because we were already, going to be celebrating together that year and not traveling anywhere, we ended up like walking around the neighborhood on Christmas Eve in shorts,
Yeah.
shorts and a t-shirt, because it was, again, like 70 degrees on Christmas Eve. So,
Like where
it
are we? Like,
seems,
are we in like Florida or California or something? This is
yeah,
just completely
where,
odd.
Ohio, please decide where we are on the globe.
Right. And I think
I don't think you're allowed to change geographic locations so frequently.
yeah, it was like one week it was 60s, 70s, and the next week it was like teens. It was
Yeah.
very odd.
And then the cycle just starts over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
But moving on to more of the topics of discussion. First of all, happy holidays to everybody who got to celebrate holidays. And if nothing else, the new year is upon us. So 2016 can, as some have said, it can go away into the
see
dumpster
its
because of
way
how
out.
bad it's been.
It's not been a great
Yeah.
year. I'm not going to deny. It's been a subpar year.
Right.
Yeah. But one thing I do want to point
And
out is
it'll
that,
last 1 second longer because of some celestial mechanics.
oh yeah, great. That 1
And
second something's going to happen. Just make it the worst year ever.
that
But,
much worse, right?
yeah.
It's 1 second longer. And we had a leap day as well.
Oh yeah, we
Don't
did.
forget.
Which kind of threw
Yeah.
off. Like I honestly, like it just kind of threw off my whole ideas for like dates because I'm pretty sure like one of the
Right.
celestial days or one of the solstices like was on a different day than I expected it to be. But yeah, along with Christmas, a lot of people expected Zur. I think John, you said you expected Zur or thought Zur might do something different for Christmas this year, which he did.
Yeah, well, he definitely did something different.
definitely did something
and it was
different.
that he didn't. He didn't sell 3 of coins.
Yeah, which
It's
was like,
that's the one kind of Christmas gift that you can kind of be like, all right, let's see what I can get. You're kind of gambling with your 3 of coins, though. It's not really a Christmas gift, but
Yeah.
anyway, the point remains that instead of getting coal, you're just getting nothing. In the way of 3 of coins. And actually, it's been that way for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
It was for the 23rd through the 25th, and then also from the 30th to the 1st.
First, I do believe.
Yes.
Yeah, the first.
Math. I swear I did not pick a career that was based around math.
Yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, the news seems to be that it is more of a bug, and that because of that, Bungie is announcing a shift in Zur's inventory for the near future. I see this as kind of being like the heavy ammo bug thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how long ago. I think it was last year.
But that lasted for a long time, though. And for some reason, they didn't fix it for, I don't even know how many weeks, but for way too long. They didn't fix it at all.
Well, but that was also, well, shoot. Was it last year or was it longer than that? Because I
it was
thought.
definitely during the Crota's End time period. So that was
Okay, yeah.
2 years
then
ago.
it would have been,
Or-
right. Because I was going to say, it was a different glimmer economy back then, because when you would kill things, people would go to the first mission on Mars, Exclusion Zone,
Hmm.
do it on heroic difficulty, and then constantly die
Yeah.
to get Glimmer from the Cabal. Yeah. Okay, now that I have my Destiny history correct, yeah, so it's a bit disappointing that Xur's inventory can't be fun for one reason or another. Including Cole would, I think, have been
It would
hilarious.
have been.
Even if they would have, like, tinted his hood red
Should
with,
have.
like,
To be perfectly
edges of
honest,
white.
I wouldn't even care if his jacket was just a very, very vibrant red. It would have been
Yeah.
hysterical.
I would have preferred that or anything closer to Santa, or the traditional sense or the traditional image of Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But oh well.
But it's weird though because it's the day or the week that you would expect Xur to do something different, and he did. But he, instead of giving you something extra, he removed something. So that almost makes me want to believe that Bungie tried doing something, but it just backfired and it introduced a bug in the system, which now prevents 3 coins from appearing. And they're trying to figure out the bug, and they just they couldn't do it. So now that this bug is in the system, Bungie just announced, okay, well, this is pretty much how it's going to be, and they're just going to do a shifting inventory from now on. It's just kind of like some conspiracy theories going on here, but it's just odd to me how it happened on Christmas week. It just seems very odd. Because I mean, like, why didn't this happen? Like at the start of Rise of Iron or some other day? It just happened on the week when people want like gifts or something special from Destiny.
At least we know Bungie's intentions are good.
Yeah.
Albeit the execution might not always be perfect, but their intentions are good.
Yeah, I mean, there are people speculating that they're trying to kind of gather some data upon how many people really do go out of their way to purchase 3 coins. Because I mean, 3 coins has this stigma in the community right now about being really bad for exotics and how getting that exotic after such a time. Right now, it's all about, oh, I just 3 coin farm for my exotics, and that's pretty much all you need to do. So there's a lot of people speculating that they're just trying to gather data upon like how many people would really do purchase 3 coins still. I mean, there are a lot of people that probably got Destiny for Christmas that will be purchasing or want to purchase 3 coins. So it just seems like a really odd thing. It's just so many different, angles of which you can come at this specific occurrence that it's something smells fishy about Xur not selling 3 coins. I just don't know what it is yet.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, I'm set on 3 coins. I mean, he could spend like a couple weeks without having it and I'd be perfectly okay. It's just, for the people out there that just got Destiny and that want to get the exotics as fast as possible, 3 coins was probably their best bet. And without it, it's going to be a long grind.
It's going to be a bumpy ride. So yeah, that being said, we also got something interesting in the Postmaster along.
We got a few different, people. If you got on Destiny every single day, you could pick up the presents on or behind the Postmaster on the tower, right? The tower has those 5 presents behind the bounty tracker. You could pick up for strange coins, planetary materials, etc. Well, I do believe after Christmas or so, a few days after Christmas, there was a 6th present that you could open for a fortune, something like a fortune cookie type deal that had different fortunes on it. I should have been a good podcaster and picked and pulled up the fortunes, like the text on these. Some Redditors that did some services to the community and collated all of the fortunes, all the texts onto a Reddit post, and I should have pulled it up. But these fortunes had some interesting text on them, text that kind of gave us some hints towards what could possibly be the story behind Destiny 2. I mean, some of them were, generic, something like, you're going to do great in the Crucible, or the Traveler looks happily upon you, or whatever, something along those lines. but some of them were really kind of leading towards some, you know, potential storylines of Destiny 2, like the tower might fall, or some like text that would you could construe as like storylines for Destiny 2. And it was very interesting to see because people got different fortunes. I mean, I believe there was like 30 or so different fortunes, and it just was interesting because these fortunes, we're still kind of far out from Destiny 2, but these could be the first inklings or little hints of Destiny's new project. I mean, we haven't seen any posters, any videos, or any kind of Bungie official stuff yet for Destiny 2. So this could be a really fun way of kind of getting us in the hype train for Destiny 2. Which I mean, I've been riding the hype train for Destiny 2 for a long time. They don't need to get me onto it.
We've been riding that hype train since Destiny 1 came out.
For real. But yeah, it was just interesting. I mean, I might pull it up later to read off some more of them, but along those lines, along the lines of like looking forward to Destiny 2, this week we also saw some people talking about Bungie looking for a new live narrative director, which essentially means this director will be directing the storytelling efforts for regular, small-scale Destiny releases throughout the calendar year, which in layman's terms means this person will be directing the progress towards telling the story in small updates throughout a year of Destiny, which, sounds like live team type efforts, or maybe even DLC type efforts like Crota's End or House of Wolves. So the fact that they're looking for a new director could mean that Destiny 2 might have DLC like Destiny 1, or they might have more live team updates as opposed to this current year. They might have it maybe every other month, or maybe every month even for 1 week. Who knows? But people have been really kind of looking at this as a very direct means of saying like, oh, Destiny 2 is going to be so much greater than Destiny 1.
My thoughts on this kind of live narrative director pursuit, I think are going to be a good thing for it's obviously a good thing for the future of Destiny, but I think it's in conjunction with the news that has already come out with what Bungie is trying to do with the next installment and having like more content come at us over the course of say 12-month span. I think the other thing to take into consideration was from all of these kind of statements is that they are obviously listening to us as a community, saying like, we want to know more about this story behind Destiny, the story behind this game that we've been playing for a few years now. And I think, it's time to, instead of just having us reread the same 10 pages, start opening us up to the next, if it's a 1,000-page story, wow, I can talk. Instead of being able to only limit us to so many pages in this 1,000-page storybook, I think we need to start like delving into more of the story and not, as great as it is to keep introducing like new enemies and whatnot. I think what would be more fruitful might be to leave like the new combatants that we might face, leave that kind of mysterious for a bit and really like flesh out what we ended up doing in Destiny 1. Just lift the veil off of this prized trophy that you have, and give us the complete backstory on the Vex. Give us the complete backstory on the Fallen, outside of just little grimoire cards and hints here and there that people are having to piece together in order to try and do a story. Yeah, I think while it is great that Bungie is being kind of secretive about it, I think it would be better suited for the community and for the growth of things to be this big reveal on the whole backstory. And sure, not everybody's going to want it, but those who are interested, I think would love to see where we are in this Destiny universe.
Definitely.
And again, I understand that there's a lot of information in the Grimoire cards, but not everybody wants to go to Bungie's website to read up, or any of the other websites that have compiled that information as well. Not everybody wants to go to those sites just to read on the backstory of Destiny, even if they are interested in the story. Like, because of where it is in relation to the game. I think that was one kind of misstep for this period of the Destiny universe, is having the website kind of be this info library.
Yeah.
I think if you did have this big library of information, then it should probably be there should be more to it than what we currently have. And here we go again, this whole thing of we want more content. Except in this sense, it's a different type of content,
Right.
that is desired.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean,
yeah,
I definitely agree. As a person that's kind of delved into the lore as of Taken King, that even if you didn't put more story-driven material within the game, I would be perfectly fine, at least for now, with the Grimoire in-game, whether it be like the Speaker's Library or the hidden secret chamber that has all these books for you to read, where you could access the Grimoire in-game, or even have some like little tidbits of the Grimoire within game. That would be so much better for like loading screens, having just little text from the Grimoire on your loading screens or whatever. That would be wonderful. So it would be great. I mean, there are so many different things in this game that being fleshed out would just make this game 10 times better. I mean, this game it has a lot of depth. For anyone that's kind of delved into the Grimoire, this game is a lot deeper than you actually think it is. Because, I mean, looking into the Grimoire myself, I mean, I've delved into the kind of the history of the Vex. And the Vex are a very, like, story-heavy race, species, whatever you want to call them, faction, or faction of enemies. And, I mean, like, I didn't know this before reading the Grimoire, but like, you know, the Vex and the Hive have a lot of history with each other. I mean, like Crota's End, that raid, most of that stuff is Vex inspired, with Crota or with Hive features appended upon them. So if you go back to the raid and look at the architecture, there's a lot of Vex architecture within there, but it's been Hive-ified or whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot of lore in this game, but it's just, how do you fit it in this game without, you know, forgetting about the PvP elements of the game or whatever, or even the RPG elements of the game. It's a lot to cover, and just, I really am quite curious to see how they implement it in D2. But going back to the whole fortune thing I was talking about earlier, I have actually pulled up the fortunes, and some of the more peculiar ones that people were getting were, you will destroy to rebuild, which is, you know, quite ominous. The speaker will dream of beautiful and terrible things, which kind of coincides with the whole people thinking the speaker is actually a really bad guy, but he has, like, you know, these these kind of hidden agendas for what he wants to do with the traveler and stuff. And there's also, you are not alone. The tower stands with you. The city stands behind you, cautiously. So very ominous fortunes here. But then you also get cards like, you'll forget to thank your ghost again. Sheesh. Or, help, my name is Cade, and I'm stuck writing fortunes in the tower. You have like some of these really ominous fortunes, but then you have these really whimsical, almost like really funny cards, or not cards, or fortunes. So it's just like I don't really know if they're trying to do something with these fortunes, or they're really just kind of making up words and phrases to kind of get us riled up, which honestly could be true. And going along with this kind of topic here is that along with the narrative director, is that that position was on Bungie's website for a couple months now, like long before the people that kind of talked about it on Reddit really found it. So there are people saying that the Destiny community is really hungry for new content, really new content and new information about Destiny 2. That they'll look pretty much anywhere for new information, and looking on Bungie's in like employee hire site for ways of figuring out what they're doing for Destiny 2 seems almost kind of desperate in a lot of people's eyes. So I don't really know what to think here in terms of that narrative director, these fortunes, but there's a lot going on in terms of people looking for things to kind of lead us towards Destiny 2, and what they could possibly be doing with it. Who knows? But I am excited nevertheless. I mean, yeah. Anyways,
Sure.
um, yeah,
Well, do you want to go into kind of our little fun activity that we decided to do?
yeah. I mean, there's not really much news in Destiny as of late. There's no TWAB, which is quite sad because I really would be quite interested to see what Deej could possibly write up while he's out with family, probably drunk, doing shenanigans. But very slow news week. So we kind of thought of a little fun activity, which is thinking up changes to kind of make some exotic weapons a little bit more viable in their environments. So, John, I'll let you take the lead here.
All right. So I decided to pick 3 weapons, and has more of PvE implications rather than PvP, just because the PvP landscape is so touchy because you mess with one thing too much and then that becomes the best thing to use. And yeah. Anyway, my selections are solely PvE based, aside from one, just because, I guess you can find some PvP implications of it. But all right. So the first exotic weapon that I wanted to change, and I'll be honest, both of these are pretty drastic, not gonna lie. But all right, first one, no time to explain. So the first change is altering the rate of fire and impact to what the spare change decimal 25 is currently. So it would be the slowest rate of fire archetype. Modify the middle tree perks to be the plus minus perks. So, for instance, on this gun, I know according to lore, like the Stranger's rifle had the speed reload. What wasn't it? Is like, was it speed reload and then fitted stock as the?
I actually
I
have
didn't
it.
think. I
Um,
didn't. Or oh yeah, no yeah, it was. It did have all 3 of those in the
yeah.
middle
See, reload, hand
because it was
loaded,
a
and fitted stock.
legendary. Yeah. Anyway, the goal would be instead to have, so instead of speed reload, it would probably end up being like oiled frame, hand loaded. Instead, it would probably be rifled barrel.
Yeah.
And then instead of fitted stock, I would say, for the sake of variety, instead of doing what I'm going to do for the next weapon, I would pick braced frame. And that kind of leads into what I was wanting to do with kind of changing the exotic perk. So instead of rewind again, just refunding all precision hits, Instead, it would be a change where all precision bursts are refunded. So you'd have to land a full set of precision shots. This muzzle flash would be gone, by the way. This is assuming that annoying muzzle flash is gone. Precision bursts against minions of the darkness activate a crowd control level damage bump. So, like, you get one precision burst, that next one would have like a 5% damage bump. And then if you got a precision burst with that, then the buff would just refresh. And then you would have a like 5% damage bump. But as soon as you miss one shot, it starts back over.
Would it still have rewind again? Would it still like regenerate ammo from full precision bursts?
Yeah, so it instead of it being like individual shots, it would be a precision burst.
Yeah. And in addition to getting that full burst back, you would also get a crowd control type damage buff.
Correct. And I would like to make mention that as I wrote this up, I made sure that I put against minions of the darkness, and then when I just described it, I didn't say minions of the darkness because I didn't want any of these to really have PvP implications. So yeah, against minions of the darkness, it would have a crowd control level damage bump.
I could almost say, I mean, if you wanted to make it remotely viable, or not viable, but remotely balanced in the PvP landscape, I would almost make it so that every single precision shot is refunded. It's not like burst or anything, but if you do get a full burst on like a full precision burst, then you get that precision, or then you get that like damage buff. So that way it does make it so that it's like not incredibly hard to get that damage. Actually, I don't know. I just don't want to make it so that the exotic perk itself is almost non-existent in the Crucible landscape, because getting a full precision headshot isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do, especially with the Spares Change archetype. So I don't know, but that is definitely a very interesting change, and I not gonna lie, that seems like a pretty good gun. I mean, it's not overpowered in any sense, I don't think. But
well, exactly. Like
does seem pretty
the
good.
whole reason for this was just to make it number one, so that it would be the only exotic high impact pulse rifle.
Yeah.
Because right now there is none.
Yeah. I mean, we got Bad Juju, which is 73.7. Then we got Bread Death 66.17. I think that's it, right? We don't have a super fast fire rate, and we don't have, or do we have super? Is that? Yeah, we don't have super fast fire rate, and we don't have the high impact class. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good change. I mean, when I thought of a change for Ninja to explain, I would think maybe some different middle tree perks, the whole like speed reload, hand loaded, and fitted stock. I would definitely change those to make it a little bit more drastic in terms of the changes. But I would also, definitely remove the muzzle flash or whatever. Then that makes it just incredibly annoying to use. But I'd never thought of a change like that. Honestly, that seems like a pretty good change, actually. I mean, it seems relatively balanced. I mean, I would just need to figure out, in terms of like a DPS, which would be more viable. Because I mean, that definitely brings it into contention with like some of the other really good PvE DPS weapons.
Right. But so yeah, I don't know if you want to trade back and forth, or if
Sure.
you want me to finish my three versus
I can go ahead.
You do your three.
Well,
Okay.
I guess I will go with Boolean Gemini. So I was never really impressed with this gun. I pulled it out when I first got it back during Taken King, and it was fun. But having the whole one way or the other, having increased agility on precision kills and stacking up to 3 times, or increased armor on regular kills, non-precision kills, and also stack them to 3 times on that. First, I would definitely also change the military so they're a little bit more drastic. Maybe give this weapon a little bit more stability with like a braced frame or hand loaded or hand laid stock, or maybe like another rifled barrel or something like along those lines. It can give it more um, drastic changes. I mean, it already has high cal intrinsically, which is nice, but in terms of the exotic perk itself, I would almost let them stack higher than 3 because right now, that bonus agility and that bonus armor almost seems non-existent for a lot of people. Like let's say in PvE, bonus agility and bonus armor don't really do you too much. It doesn't really matter all that much. So having it stack up to maybe 5 times would make them more apparent, and it would make that weapon feel more exotic as opposed to just another legendary scar rifle. So that'd be pretty nice. And then also in terms of PvP, it would make the gun a little bit better in terms of giving you more of a benefit to using the gun as opposed to like even Mytho or just another legendary scout. So just giving those exotic perks just a little bit higher or a little bit more affecting perks, just like stacking up to 5 times on both those as opposed to 3, will make them a little bit better. I mean, I can't imagine you getting 5 stacks on either of them in PvP, but who knows? Maybe you could, allow a player to have both those nodes active, having both one way or the other or another active at the same time, allowing you to get increased agility and increased armor at the same time. Maybe they'll last not as long to make it not as powerful, but allowing you to get both at the same time. Maybe, perhaps.
See, that was going to be my question was, do you combine them and have it last for the current amount of time that they are active, or would you have them stack up to 5 and have them last 15 seconds?
Yeah. How much did it last right now? 20?
No.
What is it right now?
I thought it was like 10.
Really? Is it 10?
I thought so.
I mean, I don't use the gun very often, so I can't really. I don't really know, but I would definitely think on increasing the duration of that specific buff and making them stack up higher. I don't really know too much right now whether or not I will allow it to have both active at the same time. I would need to test that myself to kind of see like, oh, this seems a little bit powerful. This seems a little bit weak. Maybe. But right now, the gun seems really, really average. I mean, it's outclassed by a lot of legendary scout rifles and even more so by Mida itself. So allowing that exotic perk to kind of benefit you more would definitely be my change to the weapon.
Okay. So yeah, other than my comments, I think that's pretty good. As far as a kind of a rework of it. So the one that I ended up picking, and most of these I ended up picking mainly because of how long they have sat in my vault and not moved. So that being said, my next one that I'd like to change is the Kvastov, the exotic version, not the white weapon that you first get. Which actually brings up a nice point. The reload speed is the exact same. Okay.
Let's buff the white version.
I wouldn't want to buff the white version just because I think it's fine the way it is as your first weapon. Anyway, my first change would be to do a blanket buff of range, stability, and especially the reload speed. I would say at least the reload speed be up in like the mid 80s. So it'd be about a 30-point stat bump. And I would say the stability maybe be at like 60 or so. And then the range be at maybe like 40, 45, something around there. I don't really care about range caps right now or, stability caps for specific weapons. I'm trying to make them actually viable. So to heck with limits. I deal with limits every day of my life. Anyway, The other thing that I would like to change is the magazine size to 45, and that's without the extended mag thing. Um, and then remove the selectable rate of fire options. So no 450 or 900 RPM. Just everything be like that slower rate of fire. And then the classic scope currently has a range and stability bonus, like a small bonus to that. I would also add in with that a patrol damage bonus. I don't really know how to quantify that just yet, but the way that I would like this thing to work is like when you go into a patrol, like it may not be the best weapon, but if you don't have that best weapon just yet, this would not hurt you by putting this exotic in your slot, in the exotic, or using your exotic slot on this weapon for patrols. And then a modernized scope that is currently on it gives additional zoom and target acquisition, and I would like that to grant +2 agility on top of the built-in +2 agility, and kind of having the lightweight perk built in. So again, it's not like Mytho where you get +2 agility plus the however much that the Mytho multi-tool perk gives you, but it would be another kind of small hidden buff that would make it so that it was a little bit more attractive to use.
Yeah. Um,
But I would still like to keep the full auto pulse rifle, scout rifle thing, but I would like that to kind of change to like the middle rate of fire. But there is no like middle rate of fire with any of those classes. That's the problem, is that there's like 4 tiers of pulse rifles and there's 4 tiers of scout rifles.
yeah.
So I'm kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place on those.
Yeah.
But yeah, my thought was to keep the gun how it is right now, but maybe somehow like with the selectable like fire options, similar to how a rifle of that type in the modern world, in real life, can be selected to do semi-automatic 3-round bursts or fully automatic. The thought was to kind of keep that at kind of the same rates of fire as when it's fully automatic, like a fire cap of 450, but the logistics of it I have not fleshed out just yet. But the whole thing was, my idea on this was to try and make it more of a, like, again, a patrol weapon that actually would be fun to take out and use, even if it's only for patrol. I don't mind that, the last word is really good in PvP and trash in PvE. I don't mind that. So similarly, I'd like some guns that are more focused on PvE and maybe not so good in PvP. But yeah, that was my kind of list of changes that I'd like to do to the Kvastov.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't necessarily agree with most of the changes. Because my thought right now is that Kvastov is bad, not because it's a bad weapon. I mean, it's not necessarily the greatest, but it's bad because our rifles themselves are pretty bad. I'm not saying that if auto rifles got a buff, this thing would be like viable in the PvP landscape, but I can't see too many changes to the gun. I do know that when you change the gun from a pulse or a semi-auto firing gun, the damages don't scale very well. So the only way for you to even use the gun like viably is to use it as an auto rifle. The pulse rifle and scout rifle
Correct.
methods are just almost, you don't use them because they're just really bad for your DPS. But in terms
Right.
of changing the other perks themselves, maybe. But I just don't necessarily think those perks need to be changed to make the gun good. It's really just because auto rifles themselves, as a whole, aren't very good. I mean, outside of like the fast firing autos, you don't really see auto rifles doing well in the Crucible. But
Correct. Which is, again, this is why I was looking at more of a PvE buff,
yeah,
and also why I decided I wanted to, and this kind of also went into kind of the inventory stat, is getting rid of like the rate of fire options. Because like if you had like a 900 RPM Kvastov in the current landscape, you would get a magazine bump,
yeah,
and I don't want that. I would prefer it to be, just one rate of fire option, but you could switch it between the two right now, between the three right now, the three different rate of fire types. But the goal was, in some other games, there are weapons, and this is other franchises even, like intellectual properties, where there is always one gun, it seems, that has a bigger magazine size. It's not great in the damage department, but you get a lot of bullets with it. And that was kind of the thought behind it, was to, in a sense, kind of have like a P90 of sorts, not with rate of fire, but that kind of platform of weapon in certain games is, it's a weapon platform that allows for a lot of magazines, or a lot of bullets in each magazine, and you can carry a lot of magazines because of the way that they're shaped, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So yeah, that was my thought process behind that.
yeah. I mean, but otherwise, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to the changes. I just don't know the how it would change if auto rifles themselves got a buff. But anyways, my next weapon that I think could be potentially changed, and don't crucify me for this, but I think Thorn could use a buff. Now, I know there are a lot of year one players right now turning in their grave. Really don't think that Thorn should ever see a buff. If anything, it should see a nerf, just because why not? But right now, I just don't think Thorn's exotic perk really does much of anything. I think it ticks or it burns you for 3 ticks, I think. It's not much. It's definitely 3 or less. I mean, it's very little, very minimal damage. And on top of having the artifact that lets you reduce your burn times, makes it even less of a factor. I don't know exactly how it reduces the burn time. I've never used the artifact myself to even test it or whatever. But whether it removes it completely or just brings on damage to almost nothing or just reduces the time that which you burn or are poisoned, I feel like the gun itself isn't very good because of all these different things kind of coming at it, like being the nerf itself to Thorn and then the artifact reducing the burn times. So right now in the PvP landscape, specifically Trials, everyone runs Scories, mainly because you can play very passively and kind of bump up your super energy just by, sitting in the back, sitting in your spawn or whatever. So if I were to change Thorn, I would change it so that its burn is not back to what it was in year one, but maybe instead of burning for 1 or 2, I think it burns maybe for 4, maybe for 1 tick longer, to make it, it's definitely something you have to worry about, but it's not like a thing that would insta kill you or a thing that you have to um, be completely terrified of once you hear that hissing or see the green on your screen. So, um, it would make also running the artifact that reduces the burn times for dot effects a little bit more of a choice to make. Because right now, all you really do is choose scories when you're running in PvP. Or some people just don't even care what artifact they are running, or they just run Jolters because they're used to having no sprint cooldown. Like the artifact choice is a non-factor for so many people. So by buffing Thorn just a little bit, it's specifically its static perk, would make that having the reducing the dot effects artifact a little bit more of a front runner in the choice of making your artifact or choice of artifacts. So I think Thorn could use a buff. I mean, hand cannons right now. If you're choosing hand cannons, it's really all about your Ice Luna and your Palindrome. That the legendary hand or the exotic hand cannons aren't that big of a choice right now. They're not as good as your legendary ones. So I think Thorn itself can use a small buff. Again, don't crucify
Yeah.
me for making this thought, but I've always been a fan of Thorn, albeit it was the prominent choice for a long time, for too long of a time. But yeah,
Yeah. And honestly, I would rather have it to where Thorn burns for as long as it did in year 1, but at the current damage levels,
yeah,
um, than what it is right now.
yeah. I could agree. I mean
And then leave the range stat where it is,
yeah, I definitely
even though
don't
it.
think the range should be as high as it was in year one or as crazy as it could
But
potentially
I
be.
also think that send it should not be on the gun.
Yeah,
I think, but then also not having perfect balance either. So I feel like that middle tree of perks might need to get, or would need to get retrained or tweaked in some way, so that maybe you had like snapshot, something else, and something else. Maybe have it be where it might be like snapshot, speed reload, and blah. I don't know yet.
yeah,
But I definitely think that the range of Thorn right now is fine, because that is kind of what's keeping it from being the, like, it's keeping the town criers from saying, "Oh my gosh, Thorn's annoying again."
yeah. I just don't know what
So,
people are opposed to more. I feel like the lower end skill of players would be more opposed to Dorn if it burned for longer. Because I feel like the direct thing they see when they get shot by Dorn is just burning for a long time. Um, and also, I feel like the higher end skill of players could benefit more from having a person burn for longer. That way, they could track them for longer around corners and
yeah.
whatever. But having them burn for more damage makes it almost feel like you could jump back in year one where you could shoot them twice and throw like an arc bolt or a firebolt or whatever and kill them.
Right.
So it's a tough
Which,
seesaw there.
on the other side of things, I'm the kind of person that never uses anything other than Memory of Silumar, just so that people can't one hit me with damage over time or burning nades. But that's just me. I know other people that do quite well with Memory of Fellwinter. They do well with Yolder or Scories or what have you.
I feel like
Um,
Scores is like the de facto artifact for so many people just because it benefits a lot of people simultaneously.
yeah. And finally, this is more of a quick one. My change to Young Wolf's Howl is just to bring the right trigger energy attack from 10 down to 5 per use of the right trigger. That's it.
Yeah, thereby giving us another solar heavy weapon to use in our day-to-day basis.
All right, well then change it to void. Make everybody
I
happy.
wouldn't
No,
be
I'm
I wouldn't be
kidding.
opposed to avoid heavy.
I wouldn't be opposed either, but that doesn't. It's not necessarily
Doesn't sit
how
very well in terms
lore
of
works.
lore or just void
Yeah.
fire, which sounds pretty cool actually. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really have a third one. I mean, no time to explain was my kind of third idea, but honestly, your idea sounds much cooler than mine. So yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty slow week. This is the last episode of this podcast for this year. Next episode it will be 2017, whole new year. Getting excited for Destiny 2. We got a couple more months of for a while. I mean,
I'm excited for all these live events.
yeah. I mean, I think the next live event, at least the one we can expect, is Crimson Days, right? I mean, if they bring it back from last year, Crimson Days is the next live event we can expect.
Technically, the next event is Iron Banner, which will probably be
Oh
happening
yeah, true.
soon.
Probably within a
But
couple. They'll probably announce it in next week's TWAB, right? Or wait? Has Iron Banner been the first week of the month or the second week of the month?
it has. I mean, it's. I swear it's different every time.
Yeah.
When I try and keep track of it, it is harder than anything else to try and track. And then when I don't try and track it, it seems like it's all right. Hey, Iron Banner's back.
Yeah.
Boy, that seems like almost like clockwork. So yeah, I go figure.
I just don't think they would start Iron Banner without announcing it first in a TWAB or whatever. I feel like Iron Banner will not be this next coming reset, the first week of 2017. It will be the week after, once we have like Deej or even Cosmo tell us what the next week of Iron Banner is going to be like. So Iron Banner, don't expect it next week, but probably the week after. I mean, what game type would you want?
I don't care. I just wish it was next week or like this upcoming week.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people are going back to school after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like I think they're starting back up if I can find my mouse. They're going to be starting back up on like the 9th.
Yeah, I do know Ohio
So
State
I'd prefer them
starts on
for the
10th
health of Iron Banner.
or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if a lot of people, I'm not gonna say a lot of people, a good portion of people will still probably be on break this next coming week, but the week after when Iron Banner's back, I highly doubt anyone's gonna be on break still for the holidays. So, it's unfortunate, but I do believe. Well, actually, it hasn't been a good time to test the whole matchmaking changes just yet. I mean, I haven't been in not Iron Banner, but Crucible enough to kind of feel the changes just yet. I mean, they announced the matchmaking changes a while ago, but I don't know about you, but I haven't been in Crucible in a bit.
I still need to grab my Crucible Dawning emblem by playing Crucible.
Yeah.
In fact, that's probably what I'm gonna do as soon as we're done here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think this is as good a time as any to conclude this episode. So before we do the sign-offs, I'm gonna tell our listeners here, if you do want to have a question for us to answer, just to kind of fill some time, if we're running a short episode or whatever, send your questions to the Mytho Class Twitter at Mytho Class Pod. I do believe is the at. Yeah, send the questions there, and then we'll read and answer them on next week's episode. But yeah, let's do some sign off. So you can find me, ProTo or Long, on Twitter at viz_proto or on YouTube at vision proto. John, what about you?
Yeah, and this has been John, aka Flux, aka so many other sign-offs. I don't know what I want to do. Anyway, find me at Twitter at FluxFromMC. And really, I need to change my name so that it's no longer Vroom Vroom Space Ace because I have let myself down for SRL this year. I did not race as much as I originally planned on, but that's okay
Still got a couple days,
because
right?
yeah, let's be honest, I've got other things to do over the next couple days
Yeah.
before I
Got the New
go
Year's,
back to work. Yeah, that's exactly right.
right?
I have New Year's and the prep for my birthday, which is
Oh,
going to be the worst day yet.
gonna be so many.
Everything ends on my birthday and I go back to work.
This is a
So yeah,
bad
that being
day.
said,
Yeah.
yeah, that
Um.
being said,
Yeah. Thanks for listening. Really do hope you guys catch us next week. But that's all we have today for you guys. So talk to you guys later.
goodbye.